Welcome to Bet Haven, the safe place for safe plays. Back again, week 3 of the NFL is here. We've been giving some free money out week 1 and week 2. You've seen the clip. DK Metcalf, 56-yard touchdown, courtesy of Geno Smith, courtesy of Chandler Todd, calling it out. If you know, you know.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you've seen the clip. Hopefully you watched the episode. Hopefully you put him on your DraftKings teams or bet him anytime touchdown. I know I had him at plus 200, but I did have him in a parlay with old Travis Kelce, who just was terrible. I don't know if Travis Kelce is just washed at this point or what's going on, but he did get stopped at the 1 on like a weird shovel pass by his own offensive lineman, and then the next play they threw it again, but they threw it to an offensive lineman for a touchdown. Just a tough beat there. But yeah, DK Metcalf, man, just seeing into the future and putting together some decent squads.
You literally said I could see DK with a long one from Geno Smith for a touchdown. And then I turned on I don't even remember what game I was watching, but I think it was maybe Red Zone. And I'm not even less than a minute after I saw them like go to the Seahawks game, and I saw the Seahawks had the ball, and I was like, I wonder what's about to happen here. And it's just right over the top, wide open. There was nobody within 30 yards of him. Yep. But yeah, that was pretty incredible stuff there. So
yeah, that was helpful for DraftKings. And then, like I said, had him in a parlay, anytime touchdown. Didn't work out, but he was a good DraftKings play. At the end of the day, he was pretty cheap, pretty unowned.
Yeah, he was super,
had a good day.
Well, and honestly, and that's why we talk about this kind of stuff. Like, I'm sitting there building my DraftKings team, and I'm running through different scenarios, and I ended up having a lot of DK, and I'm like, okay, well, if I'm gonna have DK, like I need to have a Seattle stack. So I took one of my teams, completely wiped it, left DK, and then stacked Geno, DK, and then Jigba, which I heard them say his name. I still don't know if that's the way it's pronounced, but I'm gonna call it like the announcers call it. And that ended up being my best squad on DraftKings, and Jigba had like 32 fantasy points or 29.
He had a good day too.
Yeah, so. I mean it was a really solid stack, and Geno Smith was 0.4% owned in the contest I was in. So that kind of stuff is like as you're running through scenarios in your head, you kind of.
I'm sure smaller contests, you were probably the only person in that tournament that had that stack.
Yeah, I kind of went through, some of because it wasn't like a super high finish, but it wasn't,
and that wasn't the best stack of the day, but it was it had
Kelce.
Good one.
It had Kelce on the squad.
Yeah, I mean anything with Kelce, and Kelce was pretty owned, and he was just
1.6 fantasy points, pretty terrible. But yeah, let's get into week 2 or week 3 here. Hopefully we can maybe.
Before we get there, I want to mention that the Survivor pool is down to 4 people now.
I've seen Survivor pools that are completely, they're done.
Yeah, we started with 24. It's down to 4. I went with the Lions, and they screwed me. I mean, they did everything they could, it seemed like, to lose that football game. Yeah. Down to poor clock management for halftime, not being able to get a field goal off. The field goal team was running on the field, and they were going to spike it, and they threw a flag, and it was inside of 10 seconds, and they had no timeouts left, so that penalty comes with a 10-second runoff. Boom, halftime. Way to go, Dan Campbell. Awesome job. Do another fucking Applebee's commercial, you jackass. Just
Dan Campbell.
What a bum. But yeah, they did everything they could to lose. I mean, Goff throws 2 interceptions. Just bad. I think that they're a better team than that, but that was their one bad just week that they're going to have. I think that the Lions are kind of one of those teams that are going to have some really up and down weeks. I think we've
mentioned a few of those teams now.
Yeah, we've got a few, and I think we learned about a couple others now after we've seen it 2 times now in a row. I think that there's a couple teams in this league that are going to be very up and down. They're going to show some life and then look like they're terrible. And I think the Lions are probably one of those teams. I think, the Saints, they come out and they look legit, but I still am not 100% sold on them. I think that they're going to be awesome some games and terrible other games. I think the Cowboys kind of showed that on, flip the script there. I think the Cowboys are going to be very up and down. The Colts, I actually ended up betting the Packers, which was the right side. They ended up beating the Colts because I knew the Colts they're very up and down, wishy-washy team. Ended up getting that one right, but I had that one parlayed with the Titans and the Giants, and both of those teams somehow lost.
The Giants losing is just an absolute
The Giants,
mockery.
in the way they lost too, was just unbelievable. You know, Gano gets hurt. They had a chance to kick a field goal at one point late in the game, and they couldn't because Gano was hurt, so they had to go for it. They didn't get it. Just insane. That game was that game confirmed that both those teams are terrible.
Yeah,
which is what we both thought, anyways, and that confirmed it. They're both awful teams. And then the Titans again, just find a way to lose the football game to the Jets. The Jets looked okay. The Titans show that they do have a good defense, and Will Levis can be good, but he can also lose you a football game, and he's done it twice in a row now. The Titans actually had a chance to win that game at the end, got all the way down, I believe, like the 10-yard line or something, and then got stuff 4th and goal or 4th and whatever it was right there, and the Jets squeak it out, and that's what leads us to Thursday night football. We're going to go over our showdown plays, potential captain spots, and but let's get into it. We got Jets open at a -7.5 point favorite. This is in New York. This is like the revenge spot. This is like the Aaron Rodgers comeback story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to see this guy run out of the tunnel with the flag. I want to see him run out of the tunnel with the American flag, fireworks going off. I need it, man. I need that redemption. -7.5. It's actually down to -6.5, and even 6 at some books like DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
Total is down. It was started at 42. It's down to 38.5. Looking at the weather, we have a chance of rain here, and a little bit of wind, gusts up to 19 miles an hour, with a 30% chance of rain. So at minimum, it's going to be kind of a nasty kind of game, kind of cloudy, foggy.
People betting the under,
sprinkling,
and people betting, the Patriots.
It's what it seems like. You know, that's what people have gone with so far. For me, maybe I'm a sucker, but I just feel like this is such a huge moment for the Jets. Home opener, Rodgers coming back. I hope he runs out with the flag.
He's not going to do any of the same things that he did before the last.
Maybe. He's definitely got to be wearing like different
that guy's a little
super.
He might not be superstitious, but he's a little stitious.
He's definitely not wearing the same cleats and all kinds of different things. But we'll see. I think that this is a perfect spot for him. They've looked pretty okay. The Patriots, I think, have probably played above what they are.
I would agree with that.
I don't think that they're very good. I still think that they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL by the time the season ends. So yeah, I think Jets. My captain, I'm leaning Garrett Wilson. Just because of the high ceiling. He had 11 targets in game 1 against San Francisco, 6 targets in game 2. Hasn't scored a touchdown. I feel like his ceiling is pretty high. He will be probably my number 1 captain choice just based on potential volume.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on the weather, I think.
I think it's not like a for sure rain.
Okay.
30% chance. Winds, gusts up to 19, maybe an average wind of like 10 miles an hour. It's not going to be insane weather, like really bad weather. It could potentially end up being cloudy. Like that could happen. But for me, Garrett Wilson slants, I could just see a ton of slants, quick throws, stuff like that. And that's what, you've seen it if you rack up, 6 catches, and you throw in a touchdown, that could potentially be the captain in a lower scoring game just based on receptions, just getting the points for receptions. So that's probably what I'm going to bank on the most. What are you thinking?
I love the Jets in this spot. I think the Patriots, I think their defense is pretty solid, but you can only rely on your defense so much. All the Patriots can do is run the ball. They have 0 wide receivers, and at some point teams are going to catch on and say, okay, we're going to just we're gonna slam the line here and force Jacoby Brissett to throw the ball. And I just don't feel like that's a good recipe for success. So, and I think the Jets defense is going to have something to say about, Ramondre Stevenson has actually kind of, I don't know what he did in the last game, but I know he ran all over the Bengals. So I feel like if you're gonna beat the Patriots, which they absolutely should, you're gonna see it. I expect some turnovers from Brissett. I expect Rodgers to do his thing. I don't know what the weather is. I guess we're gonna bank on just decent enough conditions, and if anybody's like vetted enough to handle weather like that, then I think Rodgers is the play for that.
I don't think it's gonna be like an absolute slop fest or anything like that. I think it'll be manageable. I'm just going through the stats here from last week with the Jets. Breece Hall got a ton of action. He's another potential captain, but you are going to have to pay up for it.
Yeah, he's 17,700 in the captain spot. He's most expensive.
Also, something to consider in these lower scoring, potentially lower scoring showdown slates is do not rule out picking a defense and do not rule out picking a kicker. Even both kickers can be a potentially good pick in lower scoring games. I mean, think about if you played Showdown in the Giants Commanders game. You would have wanted potentially both kickers, or at least the Commanders kicker, because he had a ton of them. I think actually the winning lineup from Monday night might have
Young Hoku.
Yeah, I think it had a kicker.
I had him. I had a lot of Koo.
So I would definitely not rule that out in this spot. It's not a game where I picture it going bananas, where you see both quarterbacks, throwing for a ton of yards and, bomb catches. And it, could it happen once? Sure. I mean, it definitely could, but that's not what I'm visualizing. So potentially if you spend the money at Breece Hall captain, you could run it back with Rodgers or maybe no Rodgers and, look into kicker or potentially a defense. Not a lot of injuries in this game. We've had a lot of the showdowns recently. We've had devastating injuries to key players to where you can go way down to the bottom of the board and really try and find some value. There's not really that in this game. And this is kind of the first showdown slate off the top of my head where we've had that. Even going back to the first game with the Chiefs, Hollywood Brown was out. So there was some value at receiver. But I would think that potentially defense is in play, potentially kickers in play.
I like maybe Lazard too. We've seen Rodgers go at him a couple times. He had a really big first game. Second game wasn't as.
Yeah, second game he had 2 catches, 11 yards,
it was four targets. Yeah, I mean.
So yeah, it could have been better than it ended up being for sure. Also, interesting note is Braylon Allen, the backup running back, got some work. Ended up scoring a touchdown. Scratch that. Ended up scoring. No, just one. He might have scored 2 touchdowns.
No, he had a rushing and a receiving touchdown.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't expect him to do that again, but, yeah, got 4 targets out of the backfield, caught 2 of them for 23 yards and a touchdown, and then carried it 7 times for 33 yards and a touchdown. I mean...
Was it late game work?
No, because it was a ball game all the way to the end.
I think what they're trying to do is maintain Breece Hall.
Absolutely. And Breece Hall got a ton of work just besides that. I mean, he had 14 carries himself. He had 7 catches, 8 targets. He's still getting the ball a ton, but yeah, they were clearly really focusing on running the football and even doing a lot of out of the backfield stuff. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has kind of turned into the dink and dunk master. If you look at his stat sheet here with these short passes and passes to the running backs and stuff, I mean, kind of quietly dunking the ball off a lot.
Maybe double running backs, Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. I mean, if you
he threw 30 times for 176.
Yeah, that's a lot of.
It's a lot of short
Was it
ones.
throws or completions?
18 completions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just expect the Jets to smash here. I don't think the Patriots are good, but. If I'll say this, if the Jets don't win this game in pretty commanding fashion, I think it's time to start talking about Rodgers maybe not being what he needs to be. But let's move on.
Let me build one for you guys. That way I can say that I built one.
All right, I'll go ahead and do the same thing.
So like I said, I like Wilson at captain, which means you need to run it back with Rodgers. That puts us kind of at a deficit money wise. Jets D is priced up 5,400.
That is a pretty pricey.
I could see that still playing though. I mean, maybe. Let me play around with this. Let me see. What about Braylon Allen? Allen 5,200. I mean, potentially Allen if you're not going to play Brees Hall. If you can't get to it. Is Stevenson a pass catching back? 3 targets and 5 targets. Sometimes I think I've mentioned it before. I do like when a team is down. If their second running back is like a pass catching back, I like putting in the cheaper running back who's a pass catching back, but I don't think we have that in this scenario.
Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, it looks like Gibson though. They don't really.
No, one reception for 7 yards.
Yeah, I mean he carried it 11 times and only had 1 target, so that tells me that that's not really what they usually have him doing. What about Hasty? And they run any of the Hasty out there? No.
Jets D at 5,400 is actually kind of crazy.
It's steep. Yeah, that's a steep price. Trying to think of like what if the Patriots are behind, who's getting just a ton of dump offs? Like is it Henry? I mean he had 12 targets in his last game.
Yeah.
8 catches, 109 yards. 7,800. Patriots kicker. Henry with the dump offs. This is tricky, man.
I'm trying here. This
is tricky.
Running out of time a little bit here too, but
4 targets for Hooper in game 1, only 1 target in game 2.
Yeah, no, this is
because there's no injuries. There's no like obvious like drop off. Like okay, he's hurt, so you got to believe this guy's gonna get time. Like there is none of that this week with this team.
I mean, what I'll say is you had 11 rush attempts for Antonio Gibson as the second string back. I mean, that's a decent workload. Ran for 96 yards.
I got it.
Go ahead.
All right, guys. Here is the free money showdown lineup of the week. Garrett Wilson at captain. Brees Hall at flex. Aaron Rodgers at flex. Jets D. Joey Sly, who's a kicker for the Patriots. And Austin Hooper, backup tight end for the Patriots. I think that potential game script here, Wilson obviously catches a ton of receptions. They get up. Brees Hall maybe runs one in. If not, just gets a ton of work because they're winning, so they're trying to run a clock. So the Patriots are back there having to pass a ton. Jets D gets some sacks because they know that they're passing it. Austin Hooper maybe gets some dump-offs, some more dump-offs than he normally would get because of they're playing from behind. And they don't score a touchdown, so maybe Joey Sly kicked in a couple of field goals. That's my play. You got yours yet? You've been working on it for about 10 minutes, I believe.
I think I'm trying to fade Brees Hall.
It leaves 300 on the table. I think if you're fading Brees Hall, you can play Braylon Allen and just hope that maybe
that's what I'm looking at right now.
Maybe they run more of a 50, not quite 50-50 split, but maybe something closer to 50-50, maybe a 70-30. I don't really know what they ended up doing, but if you look at the work, Braylon Allen got half the carries that Brees Hall got.
All right, Garrett Wilson captain, Braylon Allen flex, Hunter Henry flex, Aaron Rodgers flex, Joey Sly flex, Mike Williams. If you do anything other than that, they leave 700 on the table. If you do anything other than that, like Sly combined with Jets D, you're leaving so much money on the table.
Which in Showdown is not an insane thing to do.
No.
I don't hate leaving a ton on the table, especially if you're going to play in the bigger contest. There is not a milli contest for Showdown.
No, there's
a half a milli contest.
Yeah, $15 entry.
I won't be in that. I'll be in the single entry stuff. So don't you dare put my lineup in the single entry stuff. I'm talking to you in the camera and you to my right.
I already stole it. Entered it 6 times. All right.
It's good enough for me for Showdown work. You want to keep it rolling, or you want to?
Let's cap it there. Let's do a we'll do a Sunday slate.
All right.
So there's the Showdown video Thursday night. Jets versus Patriots. That's at New York. So yeah.
Yep.
There it is.
Redemption game.
I think it's going to be an interesting one, and I actually kind of like. I kind of like the fade on Breece Hall. If I expect the Jets to win by as much as I think they will, then maybe they kind of yank him early.
You just have to hope that he's not the reason.
Right.
That they're
and
winning.
that's kind of what this game script shows. It's it's 2 of the receivers with Rodgers. If Breece Hall is the reason, I don't think that would be the build. It's a correlating build essentially. So
yeah, and it's easier to get to that if you think. It's easier to fade Stevenson if you believe that to be true, because Stevenson through 2 games has 46 carries.
Yeah.
So if they're playing from behind, he's not going to get the carries. Now, he might get the pass catches. I don't know. You have to pick a pass catcher at some point if you think they're going to be playing from behind.
Well, and Hunter Henry's on this.
And you've got Hunter Henry, and I'm going the cheap route with Hooper. That way I can get basically Rodgers on the other side.
Yeah.
So that's the way you have to play it.
All right, there's the there's the Thursday Showdown, whatever you want to call it. This Thursday night Showdown show.
Yeah.
Say that 4 times fast.
No.
All right, we'll see you guys for the next video.